Okay, so students are taking tests in English and Welsh. This English test is marked out of 80, Welsh test is marked out of 70, and David then scores 35 in his English test, alright? So he gets 35, of course, out of, what, 80, yeah? Because that's his English test, that's what he's marked out of. So I've written that down there, okay, that's what his mark would be on the front of his paper, 35 out of 80, and it's asking us then to write this as a percentage. Now what you need to think about, right, is in terms of roughly where this is, right, because it is an estimate. Well, if you think about it, 40 out of 80 would be half marks, wouldn't it? 40 out of 80, so that would give you half marks, which is 50%. He hasn't quite got that, hasn't he? He hasn't quite got half marks, so it certainly can't be that, alright? But it probably will be this, I would say, roughly that, yeah, 44%. I'd go along with that, alright? Because, as I said, it's not quite half marks, but it's not far away, isn't it? It's not far from 40 out of 80. Part 2 then, it says Liam scores 22 in his Welsh test. Estimate Liam scores as a percentage. Now 22 out of 70, yeah, that's what Welsh is out of. Now 22 out of 70, you might not be too clear on what this is here. When I look at that, I'd say it's roughly a third, okay, because if you think about it, if you triple 22 times it by 3, you get 66, so it is roughly, isn't it, a third, maybe a little bit less than a third. Okay, so you might see straight away what this is as a percentage, right? You know, I'm certainly would be homing in on that one, I'd be thinking, but you might not be sure, you might think that one there. Now one other way you could do it, right, a little bit more sort of advanced, you could think about, okay, percentages here. Well, what would 10% actually represent in terms of marks? All right, well, you know, if you think about it, Welsh is out of 70. Okay, so 10%, if you think about it, of those marks would be 7, wouldn't it? Yeah, because 10% you just divide by 10. So divide the total by 10, you get 7. So 10% 7, 40% then would be 28. Okay, so to get 40%, he needed to have got 28 out of 70, and he's gone nowhere near that, isn't he? He's a little bit off from that. Now 30%, what would 30% be? Well, if I sort of write it back here, well, 10% is 7, so 30% would be 3 lots of 10%, so that's 21, okay? And 21, yeah, it's very similar to this, isn't it? Very close. So you'd think it'd be around 30%, maybe a little bit more, yeah, because he's got 22 marks, so we'll go for that there. Okay, so part B then, it says Rowena states a hypothesis: boys do better than girls in their English tests. Okay, so she reckons boys do better in the English, and we've got like a scatter diagram here, Welsh mapped against English, and you've got the marks in English here for girls, and on the next page we've got the boys' results, right? Does the data support Rowena's hypothesis? You must give a reason for your answer. Now let's study it. Let's have a look at it side by side. Okay. We've got what have we got here? If you look at the boys' results here, well, you've got one boy here who got 10, right, in his English. So if we read the bottom axis for English, we're a bit clear. So we've got one boy who's got 10, another boy who's got 20, and that's virtually identical. Well, it is identical to the girls. Like we've got one girl who had 10 and 20 as well. So I wouldn't say that the boys have done better there. They've done the same, haven't they? Those two pupils there. Let's check the next one. So we've got a boy there who's got 35. Okay, 35 in English. What's the next one? We've got a girl who's done 33. So one boy's done slightly better. If we move along, we've got another girl then who's done 50, whereas we've got a boy who's done 60. So okay, we've got a boy who's done better again, and then we've got a girl then who's done 70, and we've got a boy then who's done 75. Okay, so we've got three boys and girls where we can say three boys did do better, but only slightly, and then we've got two boys and girls who were identical. So I wouldn't really say that this statement I wouldn't really say we could justify this, that boys do better than girls in English tests. That's not really true, isn't it? Okay, so I'd say that, you know, we've got two pairs of boys and girls who have identical marks in English, and three boys score slightly more than 3 girls. As such, right, I wouldn't say, okay, it's not really conclusive, isn't it? Okay, so we can't really justify what the girl is what Rowena is saying there. Okay, so we can't really conclude that all boys, shall we say, that all boys do better than girls in English. Okay, and then it says, how could Rowena improve the testing of her hypothesis? Well, we're talking 5 pupils here, 5 girls, 5 boys. There's not enough, right? If you've got a bigger class, then we can really compare and we can see if boys are better than girls. Okay, so we wouldn't have to worry then about individual cases where maybe there's some that are the same, some that are actually worse. We can actually compare large data sets. So we need to say, look, she should increase the number of pupils tested. Then it says part B, draw by eye a line of best fit to estimate how many marks you might expect a boy to score in Welsh test if he scored 50 marks in English test. So we're going to go to the boy scatter graph. We're going to draw a line of best fit. So our line of best fit needs to have same amount of points roughly either side of the line, right? So you can get a ruler there, that will do, right? You've got 1 point either side actually, and you've got the line going through 3 points, so that's really good, okay? So you've got the line really close to the points. Remember, with our line of best fit, it doesn't have to go through the origin, right? It usually doesn't, so don't worry about that. And if he scores 50 marks in his English test, there's 50 there in English. What we'll do then is we'll draw a line up to our scatter from 50 in English, and where it hits then our line of best fit, we'll draw a line across, so then we can read then what that is, and that's then going to be 54, I think, okay, with our scale there. So you're going to score 54 marks in Welsh.